It was a quiet Sunday morning in a small-town diner called Sunny's Place. The smell of fresh coffee and warm pancakes filled the air. Most of the regulars were there, old folks reading newspapers, a few truckers eating breakfast before hitting the road, and a group of teenagers chatting by the window. At a corner table sat Mrs. Helen Brown, a 72-year-old woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She wore a faded blue coat and a soft smile that had comforted many in her lifetime. Every Sunday after church, she came to the diner, ordered her favorite, coffee with 2 sugars and a slice of apple pie, and quietly read her Bible. This morning was no different, except for one thing. At another table sat Jake Miller, a man in his 30s known around town for his bad temper. He was loud, impatient, and always ready to pick a fight. He had just been fired from his job at the local garage, and his anger was boiling. The waitress, nervous and tired, accidentally spilled a bit of coffee near Jake's plate. He snapped at her, cursing under his breath. Mrs. Brown, watching from her table, softly said, "Son, it doesn't cost anything to be kind." Jake turned sharply, glaring at her. "Did I ask for your opinion, old lady?" Mrs. Brown didn't react. She simply smiled and said, "No, but maybe you needed to hear it." The other customers went quiet. Jake stood up, his face red with rage. "You think you can talk to me like that?" he shouted. Before anyone could stop him, he slapped her across the face. The sound echoed through the diner. The waitress screamed. Mrs. Brown gasped and held her cheek. Yet even through the pain, she whispered, "God bless you, son." Jake froze for a second, realizing what he had done, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. He stormed out of the diner, slamming the door behind him. Everyone rushed to help Mrs. Brown. The manager called the police, but Mrs. Brown refused to file a complaint. "He's lost his way," she said quietly. "He doesn't need jail, he needs guidance." A few minutes later, the door opened again. A tall man in a military uniform walked in, strong, calm, and confident. He had just returned from his army base for a short visit home. It was Captain Marcus Brown, Mrs. Brown's son. When he saw his mother's red cheek, his heart dropped. "Mom, what happened?" Before she could answer, one of the waitresses spoke up. "That guy Jake slapped her. He just left." Marcus's face tightened. "Which way did he go?" he demanded. He rushed outside, spotting Jake near his truck. Jake was smoking, trying to act tough. Marcus walked up to him, eyes cold. "Did you hit that woman in there?" Jake smirked. "Yeah, so what? She should mind her own business." Marcus grabbed Jake by the collar and slammed him against the truck. "That woman," he growled, "is my mother." Jake's eyes widened in shock. Your mom." Marcus's voice was calm but firm. "You don't hit women. You don't disrespect elders. And you never touch my mother." He didn't hit Jake back. Instead, he held him still and said, "Apologize. Right now." Jake stammered, I didn't mean to." Marcus let him go. "If you have any decency left, you'll go inside and make it right." Jake hesitated, then slowly walked back into the diner. Everyone stared at him. He looked at Mrs. Brown, who was still sitting quietly with her Bible open. His voice shook. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I lost my temper." Mrs. Brown looked up at him, eyes full of forgiveness. "Son, anger is a heavy burden. Let it go before it ruins you." Jake's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your forgiveness." She reached out, gently touching his arm. "Nobody does. That's what makes forgiveness so powerful." The entire diner was silent. Even the clinking of cups had stopped. Jake sat down, his hands trembling. For the first time in years, he felt truly ashamed, and human. Marcus came in and stood beside his mother. "You okay, Mom?" She smiled softly. Yes, darling. God has his ways. Jake looked up at Marcus. I didn't know she was your mom. If I had. Marcus interrupted him. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them right. Jake nodded, tears rolling down his face. You're right. I'm so sorry. Over the next few weeks, something changed in Jake. He came back to the diner, not to cause trouble, but to help. He fixed the diner's broken sign for free. He carried groceries for Mrs. Brown. And every Sunday, he'd sit quietly in the corner, drinking coffee and listening as she read her Bible verses aloud. One morning, Marcus walked into the diner again before heading back to his base. He saw Jake cleaning tables. The two men locked eyes. Marcus walked up and said, "You've changed." Jake nodded. "Your mom did that. She made me see myself for who I was. I owe her everything." Marcus smiled. "Then honor that. Live better." Mrs. Brown came over with her gentle smile. "Jake, how's your mother doing?" Jake chuckled softly. "She's good, Mrs. Brown. I told her about you. She said she'd like to meet the woman who straightened me out." Mrs. Brown laughed. "Well, I'd be honored." As the morning light filled the diner, the three of them sat together, an elderly woman who forgave, a soldier who protected, and a man who finally learned humility. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness, or forgiveness, can turn a lost soul toward the light.